Art in Asia. What types of art in Asia known for? Let's listen to Ms. Jessica Cabales about this.
There are many types of art in Asia is known for around the world. In particular, painting, calligraphy, architecture, and sculpture are some of the most common art forms in Asia. Throughout history, artists and craftsmen have developed these art forms into refined and highly skilled practices. Mayroon iba't ibang klase ng mga arts sa Asia na kilala sa mundo, gaya ng pag-drawing, pag-design, at paggawa ng mga kasangkapan. Yan ang karamihan na forma ng art sa Asia. Next is, what is the history of art in Asia? The history of art in Asia is vast and diverse. Beginning in prehistoric times, art in Asia has been produced for centuries and has continually become more advanced through the years. Today, art in Asia conveys the current cultures and individual interests through a variety of art forms. Ang ibig sabihin ko nila, ang kasaysayan ng art sa Asia ay vast at diverse. Nagsimula ang prehistoric art sa Asia ay pinarami sa loob ng 10 taon at patuloy na lumawak sa nagdaang mga taon. Next is, why are the art in Asia important? There are immeasurable reasons why art in Asia important. Firstly, studying art in Asia helps learners gain insight into Asia cultures and history. Also, art in Asia provides a visual means for learning about the various regions of Asia and its people. The last is, this history of art in Asia spans thousands of years, dozens of countries and unique styles alongside many celebrated artists and craftsmen.
And this part history of art in Asia. Let's listen to Mr. June Mark Rubin about this.
So good morning. So what is the history of art in Asia? The history of art in Asia is vast and diverse. Beginning in prehistoric terms, art in Asia has been produced for centuries and has continually become more advanced through the years. Today, art in Asia conveys the current cultures and individual interests through a variety of forms. So, the history of Asian art includes a vast range of arts from various cultures, regions, and religions across the continent of Asia. The major region of Asia includes Central, East, South, Southeast, and West Asia. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin. And let's continue with our next discussion. Chinese art. This part, let's listen to Mr. Joel Macabenta and Mr. Patrick Laneda, Mr. Glima and Mr. Querido.
Chinese art history goes back to its prehistoric roots in ancient China artwork. For us to have a better understanding of ancient China's Chinese art, we will provide a brief historical overview starting from the Neolithic period all the way through the numerous dynasties that shaped not only Chinese politics and society, but Chinese art culture. Chinese artists were followers of Confucianism, and their moral standpoints were reflected in their art. Chinese artwork sometimes appears simpler and more minimal in its depictions without the need to be bashful or over-jealous about the artist's talents or skills as an artist. Chinese artwork would often reflect the moral character of artists themselves.
Chinese art is a visual art that originated in or practiced in China, Greater China, or by Chinese artists. Chinese arts are the painting, calligraphy, architecture, pottery, sculpture, bronze, jade carving, and other fine or decorative art forms. Chinese painting, also known as Wuhao, refers to paintings painted on Shuhan paper or silk by ink and colors. Chinese calligraphy is the writing of Chinese characters as an art form, combining purely visual art and interpretation of the literary meaning. Chinese architecture is an independent system with a long history, rich regional diversities, unique characteristics, clear and strict hierarchy roles, and consistent inheritance of traditional culture. Chinese pottery is also known as Chinese ceramics. Is made up of clay, heat-hardened pottery, stoneware, and porcelain, particularly those made in China.
Chinese also had interaction with Western missionaries who come from India, brought some Indian influence to China. Because of this, Indian model inspired a lot of Chinese artists few centuries. By the start of 6th centuries, the Chinese artists start making the highlight their own culture. Painting usually depicts magical palaces and realms that were born out of sheer imagination, while still fusing the Chinese character that defined their culture. It was a dominant belief the great power coming from the high spirit is the one who bringing the artist and his work together. Most painting were done in monumental style within rocks and mountains, serves as barrier that made the viewer distracted essentially from the main subject of the work. Porcelain is the one commonly used item to make a decorative ornament such as vase, jar. Some artifacts of exhibition sites show intricate works from Chinese. In this porcelain vase, this is attributed to the tradition of passing down the artist from generation to the next. Just like the Chinese artwork, the focal point is this vase depicts a central theme, nature. Example: the characteristic of 6th century Chinese art, focusing imagination, painting depicts magical landscape and realms. Cultural identity are art is still incorporate elements that define the Chinese culture. Spiritual artists believe the higher power guide their work. Monumental style, painting were large scale, often featuring prominent rocks and mountains. This could be seen as a distraction from the main subject. That's all.
Chinese art is a vast and fascinating world encompassing thousands of years of history and a wide variety of medium. From the delicate brushstrokes of landscape paintings to the intricate design of jade carving, Chinese art has captured the imagination of people around the world. Some of the most famous examples of Chinese art include Chinese painting is known for its use ink wash and brushwork, as well as it emphasizes on landscape and nature. Example of Chinese painting, there are Mona Lisa, Chinese art along the river during Qingming Festival, and night reviews and Versailles. Chinese calligraphy is a renowned art from expressing oneself both literally and figuratively, with famous calligraphers like Wang Zixi and Dong Qichang. Chinese ceramic are some of the famous and admired in the world. They are known for their beauty, durability, and variety. Like Celadum, a type of ceramic with a soft gray-green colored glass. Jade carving is another ancient Chinese art form. Jade is a precious stone that is highly valued in China. It is often to make sculptures and jewelry, etc.
And thank you for your explanations about this. And let's go to Japanese art. Art in Japan has undergone a series of transitions and periodization, from being an isolated nation to that of embracing Western influences and modernization. Japan has transitioned into a modern cultural mixing pot. It is evident how the Japanese were able to infuse local and indigenous materials with modern Western subjects and focal points. Based on artifacts such as ceramic figures and ornaments, it is important to take note that there are Korean and Chinese influences evident in Japanese artworks. Let's listen to Mrs. Piso, Ms. Solatorio, and Mr. Yu.
Japanese art. Art in Japan has undergone a series of transitions and periodization. from being an isolated nation to that, embracing Western influences and modernization, Japan has transitioned into a modern cultural mixing path. It is evident how the Japanese were able to infuse local and indigenous materials with modern Western subjects and focal points. Based on artifacts such as ceramic figures and ornaments, it is important to take note that there are Korean and Chinese influences evident in Japanese artworks. So, Japanese art has evolved significantly over time, influenced by a variety of factors. So, historically, Japan was an isolated nation with its primarily influenced by local and indigenous materials and themes. However, with the commerce opening up and subsequent modernization, Western influences began to make their mark on Japanese art. This led to a fusion of traditional Japanese elements with modern Western subjects, creating a unique blend that characterized contemporary Japanese art.
One of the ceramics products created by the Japanese is called the haniwa. Haniwa is made up of clay and it is produced during the Kofun period in ancient Japan time. So their figurines are look like humans, animals, or houses, and it is used as funerary objects placed around in burial mounds. Haniwa played a significant role in the religious, cultural practices of the time, and they provide valuable insights and architectural styles.
So, Japanese art is a diverse and rich artistic tradition that encompasses various styles and mediums. It often features harmony, elegance, and subtlety. Key elements include ukiyo-e, calligraphy, origami, tea ceremony, and traditional painting styles like yamato-e and meanga. Japanese art often reflects nature, spirituality, and the beauty of everyday life.
One of the ceramic products created by the Japanese is called haniwa. These are ceramic figures that are made up of clay. They are placed beside burial spots for reasons that are unknown. Philippine art. Philippine art throughout Philippine history, spanning from the pre-colonial period to the contemporary periods. Different art forms have emerged in the Philippine art scene. Before the colonizers came to the Philippines, ethnic minorities have used art not only for daily activities, but also for religious rituals and practices. Most art forms used by ethnic communities include pottery, weaving, carving, and the use of metalwork and jewelry. Let's listen to Ms. Ramos, Ms. Nicanor, and Ms. Aniano.
So, in Philippine art, through the ages, it showcased various art forms like poetry, weaving, carving, and metalworks. Philippine art has evolved throughout history. The first one is, before colonization, art was used in daily life and religious practices. Secondly, Spanish rule introduced Catholicism, reflected in religious art and church decorations. Thirdly, American influence brought landscape paintings and portraits, but Filipino traditions persisted. And lastly, since the independence, Philippine art has become more varied and modern.
Our country has an extensive and colorful variety of cultures, language, and people, making Philippine art and Philippine painting world-renowned. There are 8 forms of arts in the Philippines: architecture, visual arts, dance, music, theater, film, broadcast arts, and literature.
We have 3 characteristics of Philippine art. First, indigenous influence. Philippine art is influenced by indigenous costumes and cultures, showcasing the unique artistic styles of ethnic groups within the nation. Second, religious themes.
The Philippine Catholicism has significantly influenced the Philippine art with religious themes prevalent in murals, paintings, and sculpture. Last, vibrant colors and folk art. The Philippine tropical climate is evident in its vibrant folk art, often depicting everyday life, holiday, and folklore in wood or woven textiles.
The Spoliarium by Juan Luna is truly an overwhelming type of art. You'd be left in awe at the mere sight of it. It makes you feel proud to be a Filipino, and it's also proof that Filipinos can do amazing things. The painting features a glimpse of Roman history, centered on the bloody carnage brought by gladiatorial matches. Spoliarium is a Latin word referring to the basement of the Roman Colosseum, where the fallen and dying gladiators are dumped and devoid of their worldly possessions. The painting shows how once the gladiators die, for the entertainment of Rome, they're just dumped there and the spectators just take their possessions while their loved ones cry and mourn. Characteristics of Chinese, Japanese, and Philippine art. Symbolism and allegory. Chinese art often incorporates symbolism and allegory, with objects and motifs representing deeper meanings. This can be seen in traditional Chinese paintings, ceramics, and even in the arrangement of elements in gardens. Ink wash painting. Chinese ink wash painting, or shui mo hua, is a highly regarded art form. It emphasizes the use of brush and ink to create expressive and abstract representations of landscapes, animals, and figures. China has a long history of producing exquisite porcelain and ceramics. The art of Chinese porcelain involves intricate designs, vibrant colors, and meticulous craftsmanship. And Ms. Hermo, Mr. Christopher, and Mr. Lamigo are here, and let's listen to their explanation.
So next is Chinese art. The Chinese also had interaction with Western missionaries who came from India and brought some of the Indian influence to China. Because of this, Indian models inspires a lot of Chinese artists for a few centuries. By the start of 6th centuries, Chinese artists started making art and highlighted their very own cultural paintings, usually depicted magical places and realms that were born out of sheer imagination, while they're emphasizing the Chinese characters that define their cultures. It was a dominant belief that a great power coming from a higher spirits and a moving of artists and his work together. Most paintings were done in monumental styles, wherein rocks and mountains serve as a barrier that made the viewer distracted initially from the main subject of the work. So many paintings were characterized by monumental styles, where elements like rocks and mountains were prominently featured. These natural elements often serve as barriers, initially drawing viewers' attention away from the main subject of the work, thereby adding depth and complexity to the composition. This technique enhanced an immersive experience for the viewer, contributed to the richness of Chinese artistic tradition. So the Chinese were influenced by Indian models brought by Western missionaries. By the 6th century, Chinese artists created art reflecting their cultures, blending imagination with traditional symbols. They believe a higher power guided their work. Painting often featured monumental styles, using elements like rocks and mountains to captivate viewers and convey deeper meaning. So, porcelain is one of the commonly used items to make decorative ornaments, such as vases and jars. Some artifacts from excavation sites show intricate works of the Chinese in these porcelain vases. This can be attributed to the tradition of passing down an artistry from one generation to the next. Just like most Chinese artworks, the focal points in the vases reflect a central theme, nature. So Chinese porcelains has been crafted for thousands of years, with techniques improving over time. The vases were not just pretty, they also held things like flowers and grains. They were symbol of wealth and status. So design often showed nature and had meaning of luck and prosperity. These vases were traded along the Silk Road and are still treasured today.
Chinese art. Characteristic of Chinese, Japanese, and Philippine art. So, ink wash painting is a type of Chinese ink wash painting which uses washes of black ink, such as that used in East Asian calligraphy, in a different concentration it emerged during the Tang Dynasty of China. And overturned earlier more rustic techniques, it is typically monochrome, using the only shades of black with a great emphasis on virtuoso brushwork and conveying the perceived spirit or essence of a subject over direct imitation. Ink wash painting flourished from the Song Dynasty in China onwards, as well as in Japan after it was introduced by Zen Buddhist monks in the 14th century. Some Western scholars divide Chinese painting into three periods: times of presentation, times of expression, and the historical Oriental arts.
So, Chinese art. So, what is Chinese art characteristic? So, this symbolism and allegory. So, what is symbolism and allegory? It is a Chinese art often incorporates symbols and allegory with object and motif representing deeper meanings. This can be seen in traditional Chinese painting, ceramics, and even in the arrangement of elements and gardens. So, ink wash painting. So, what is this? Ink wash painting. It is a Chinese ink wash painting, or Chohomohowa, is a highly regarded art form. It emphasizes the use of brush and ink to create expressive and abstract representation of landscape, animals, and figures. So next is porcelains and ceramics. China has a long history of producing exquisite porcelains and ceramics. The art of Chinese porcelains involved intricate design, vibrant color, and meticulous craftsmanship.
Thank you, Mr. Lamigo and Ms. Hermo and Mr. Christopher. And that's so. Let's proceed to Japanese art. Simplicity and minimalism. Japanese art often emphasizes simplicity and minimalism. This can be seen in traditional ink paintings, such as sumi, where artists use minimal brushstrokes to depict natural subjects. Nature and seasons. Japanese art frequently draws inspiration from nature and the changing seasons. Landscape paintings, flower arrangements, ikebana, and seasonal motifs are common themes in Japanese art. Emphasis on harmony. Japanese art often seeks to create a sense of harmony and balance. This can be observed in traditional gardens, where carefully arranged elements create a peaceful and balanced atmosphere. So here Mer Flores and Mr. Delmo and Ms. Salinason. Let's listen to their explanation.
Here are the other characteristics of Japanese art. Simplicity and minimalism in Japanese art. Example, sumi ink paintings. These paintings use black ink and minimal brush strokes to capture the essence of a subject, like a mountain or a bamboo stalk. The artist focuses on capturing the feeling of the subject rather than intricate details. Limited brush strokes force the viewer to appreciate the negative space or empty areas around the subject. This creates a sense of calmness and allows the viewer to use their imaginations to fill in the details. The second is nature and seasons. For example, a landscape painting depicting Mount Fuji in different seasons. One panel will show the peak in winter, another bursting with cherry blossoms in spring. Japanese art celebrates the beauty and nature. The changing seasons are a recurring theme, with each season having its own symbolic meaning. For instance, cherry blossom represent the fleeting nature of delight or delight. That's it.
Japanese art is a product of a unique and rich cultural heritage, blending elements of traditional Asian art with influences from the other parts of the world. It includes painting, calligraphy, architecture, pottery, sculpture, and other visual arts produced in Japan from about 10,000 BCE to the present. The highly refined traditional arts of Japan include such forms as the tea ceremony, calligraphy, and ikebana, which is called flower arranging and gathering, as well architecture, painting, and sculpture. The performing arts are distinguished by their blending of music, dance, and drama, rooted in different eras of the past.
Thank you Mr. Flores and Mr. Delmo and Ms. Salinason. So let's move on to Philippine art. So let's listen to their explanation Mr. Blanca and Mr. Jasper Lamigo. Indigenous influence. Philippine art is heavily influenced by indigenous traditions and cultures. It often reflects the country's diverse ethnic groups and their unique artistic expressions. Religious themes. Many Philippine artworks have religious themes, reflecting the strong influence of Catholicism in the country. Religious sculptures, paintings, and murals are common forms of expression. Bright colors and folk art. Philippine art often features vibrant and bold colors, reflecting the country's tropical environment. Folk art, such as paintings on wood or woven textiles, portray scenes of daily life, festivals, and folklore.
This is Philippines art characteristics. So what is Philippine art characteristic? So indigenous influence. So what is indigenous influence? It is a Philippine art in a heavily influenced by indigenous tradition and cultures. It often reflects a country's diverse ethnic groups and their unique artistic expression. So, religious themes. So, what is this? This is many Philippines artwork have religious themes reflecting the strong influence of Catholicism in the country. Religious sculptures, painting, and murals are common forms of expression. So, next is brush color and for art. So, what is this? In the Philippines, this is art. This is Philippine art often features vibrant and bold colors, reflecting the country's tropical environment. Folk art such as painting on wood or woven textiles portrays scenes of daily life, festivals, and folklores.
Philippine art. Indigenous influence. Philippine art is heavily influenced by indigenous tradition and culture. It often reflects the country, diverse ethnic groups, and their unique artist expression. So, religious themes. Many Philippines artwork have religious themes, reflect the strong influence of Catholicism in the country. Religious sculpture, painting, and moral are common forms of expression. So, bright colors and folk art. Philippines art often features vibrant and bold colors, reflect the country's tropical environment. Folk art such as painting on wood or woven textiles portrays scenes of daily life, festival, and folklore.
And that's all. Thanks a lot for listening and God bless.